Hey guys, it is so good to be with you guys today on December. Can you believe we're all in December? This microphone's kind of bumping me there. Hope that gets out of the way just a little bit. Hey, it's so good to have you guys here to be with us today on Dr. Kim Live. I missed you guys last week. I was doing an audio recording of our new book, which comes out January 8th. It is called 14 Keys to Lasting Love. I'm excited about the book. It was a lot of fun to do the audio. I sat in a chair for 5 hours for 2 days reading the book. But it was a lot of fun. It was something different. Had a director in one ear and had studio people around, and so it's something I never experienced before. It was great, and just really excited about the book coming out. So today we're going to talk about, go back to the next two parts of my book, 7 Secrets to an Awesome Marriage, which is available everywhere. And we're going to talk about, with it, the purpose of that book is to strengthen your most intimate relationship next to your relationship with God, which is your spouse. So today we're going to look at secrets 5 and 6, and they are balance and mingle. So what do we mean by those things? What do we mean by balance? Well, balance is really getting a handle on your schedule, I guess, getting a handle on how you spend your time and putting things in balance. You know, when I was a kid, balance meant riding my bike and doing tricks on it and not falling off and being able to get up on the handlebars and put my feet on the seat and all that kind of stuff. So balance was more about just that literal part of balancing. Balance in marriage is really different. It's keeping, you know, we talk a lot about God first, spouse second. So it's really keeping your spouse in that number 2 spot day after day after day. And so how do you do that? Well, let me tell you some of the things that I do. I asked Nancy I think about what she could need from me today. I think about how can I serve her. I think about how can I love her in the way that God wants me to love her. And you know what I find when I do that consistently, putting her in that space, she does the same thing for me. It's just amazing how it works this way. And so I ask God each day to show me what I need to do each day to let her know how much I love her, how important is she to me, how I can come alongside her, and I can help her. And the cool thing is that when all those things happen, God really does do those things. So I think in our culture today, balance is a tough thing for all of us. There's so many distractions, and it's so easy to go a day, a week, or a month, and your spouse feels like they're way down the ladder just because you've let all the distractions, and they're not bad. They can be kids and school and church and all kinds of busyness, work, everything like that can kind of take over that second spot. And so I think when we put God first, and then he's not going to have us put anybody else but our spouse second, then the other things are great things, and they can fall into place, because most of the things that we choose over our spouse are not bad things. They're just not the best thing. And I think I know God wants us to choose our spouse second. Him first, spouse second, consistently over and over. So one of the things that I think is really fun, and one of the things that we really can do to really enjoy our spouse, to connect with our spouse, is to have date nights. And so let's look at a video vlog that we just, these video vlogs are on YouTube, and here's this one. What is your most enjoyable date as a couple? Is it going to a favorite place or eating at a favorite restaurant? Is it a day trip? If you're planning a date for just the two of you, what would be your first choice of what to do? Nancy and I love eating dinner together. We like trying new places and visiting old favorites. When we're traveling, we try to find the restaurants that the locals frequent. Our love for dining together began in college. We ate dinner together almost every single night. I love sitting across from her, looking her in the eyes, and talking together. I think that's how I fell in love with her. Throughout our entire marriage, we've made it a priority to have at least one date a week. When our kids were at home, it was just one time a week that was set aside for just the two of us. We held our date nights sacred, and we still do. The majority of our dates involve at least part of the date sitting across from each other and eating. So what's your favorite date? Today's one thing: plan that favorite date for the two of you. All right, I was wrong on that. It was I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyway, it was a One Thing video. Cool thing about One Thing videos, we have some of those on YouTube right now. Starting in January, One Thing takes on its own new life. There will be One Thing podcast on YouTube, on iTunes every day. It'll be a podcast Monday through Friday. We'll also have the videos Monday through Friday that will be on YouTube. And we also have the One Thing emails where you can just sign up. You can go to our website, awesomemarriage.com. Click on, and it'll be right there. You put it's onething.email. You put in your email address, and every day, Monday through Friday, you'll get an email from me showing you one thing you can do that day for your marriage. The couples that are doing this, the people who are doing this consistently, are having amazing results happen in their marriage relationship, because we all want our better marriages, but sometimes we just don't know what to do. Well, this kind of makes it real easy for you to do that. And so we're excited about that, and excited for you guys to be a part of it. There will also be a new YouVersion plan called One Thing, and it will start in January, where it'll be a 31-day plan, one thing, and it's going to be more of like a devotional thing that you and your spouse can do for your marriage every single day. So if you guys have questions, I would love to have you guys ask some questions. Those of you who are watching live, and some of you that are watching this later when you're watching the replay of it, we would love for you to just send us your questions, info@awesomemarriage.com, and we'll get that and we'll respond to you, because we respond to everybody's email. So we talked about balance. We talked about balance in our marriage, and we talked about how important it is to have that in your marriage relationship. The next secret in the book is number 6, and it is mingle. It is sex. It's the sexual relationship. It's the mingling of souls. You know, I think the first time I read Song of Solomon, I think I'd heard enough about it to know that it was kind of a love story. I had no idea that it was going to be that intense of a love story. I mean, we really get to know this couple. Before marriage, into marriage, we see them make love twice in the book. I mean, it shows us that God put sex in marriage for a reason. It is something we're to enjoy. It's something that is a gift from God. And so sex for marriage is a very beautiful thing. And so we see this couple, and we see at one point they say we want to make love all night long. I mean, they are embracing the gift that God gave us. And I think so many times we think God's a prude, or, you know, what does God do when we make love as a couple, and all those kind of things. It is a gift He gave us, and He wants us to embrace it, enjoy it. And I think when we take the view of sex from the cultural view, kind of the backseat of a car, to the God's perspective, to the passion of the marriage bed, that's a huge leap, huge jump, and totally redefines the sexual relationship in marriage. So sex is this gift that God gave to us in marriage. It's to be joined to our spouse physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And the Hebrew word is dod, D-O-D, and it means a mingling of souls. Just think about that. And we talk about soulmate and other things, but to me, that mingling of souls is the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the sexual, all those things coming together in the sexual relation. I think that mingling of souls really can only happen in a Christian marriage, because I think it takes two Christian people coming together for that to happen, because the spiritual connection is there because of our connection with Christ. Does it happen in every Christian marriage? No, but you know, when I talk to people, and it's something that's hard to describe, but when I've talked to couples about that in counseling, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I get that." I mean, it is something, you know, is different. It is a connection that goes beyond just the physical relationship. Having a great sex life in your marriage is important. Wherever yours is now, I would encourage you. Maybe it's been too influenced by the world or pornography or things like that. Let God redefine it. If you need help, get help. You can go to counseling, whatever that takes, sexual addiction groups. But read Song of Solomon together as a couple, and think about letting what you see there, God's plan for sex and marriage, letting your marriage mirror that. I hope you can do that. I hope that can be something that really becomes a great part of your marriage relationship, because I think that's what God designed it to be and to do. So if you have questions, I would love to take your questions. We have a couple, though, that came in earlier, and if I can find them. Okay, how do I take steps to have my spouse be my best friend? Well, obviously, in the whole balance thing, being a best friend is really important. So think about, if you just think about a best friend in that definition, what goes into that? I mean, you want somebody that you can trust. You want somebody that that values the relationship. You want somebody that enjoys being with you and that you have fun with. And so what can you do? Those are just things off the top of my head. What can you do to make those things happen in a marriage relationship? So I think you've got to have time together. You've got to have time that's set aside just for fun and to enjoy each other. You can't let your date nights and those things, you don't try to solve problems or fights on a date night. You want that to be just a time to enjoy each other. You share with each other. You listen well to each other. Guys, that's harder for us, but the tool that we use, stop, look, listen, really helps in that, because when your wife really wants to talk to you or you want to talk to her, you guys stop everything else you're doing. You sit where you can look each other in the eye, because that helps you not be distracted. And then you listen well to what they say, and then where you can say back to them what you think they heard. And they can either say you got it, or that say it in a different way so you understand it. That in itself not only will help you in your friendship, but to be best friends, but it will also solve a lot of your problems. You'll find that if you really take time to listen and understand each other, it solves almost all the problems you'll have. Okay. Great question, great question. Next question came in, is it good to avoid conflict? No, because you can't. I mean, there's going to be conflict in every single marriage. The key is how we handle that conflict. Do we let it pull us apart, or do we let it draw us together? You know, if Nancy and I have conflict and we sit down and we problem solve and work through it together, we have grown our marriage through that. If, on the other hand, we let it pull us apart, we fight unfair, we don't fight like we're supposed to, then that's going to pull us apart. We want to grow our marriage through conflict, and I think that's one of the best gifts you can give your marriage, is figuring out how to solve conflict. And a lot of it does go back to stopping, looking, and listening. Getting the problem out there, and always what I try to get couples to see is to put the problem in front of you and the two of you together solving the problem, resolving the problem. That way, because usually it's me here, Nancy here, the problem in the middle, and we're both trying to solve it our way, and that's where the conflict continued to escalate. If we're both looking together, trying to solve it together, it puts it in a whole different light. Great, great, great questions. All right, one of the things we do on YouTube is to do vlogs, and we do some of those every week. They're on our YouTube channel, Lost of Marriage YouTube channel. They are a lot of fun. Some are serious, some are not quite as serious, but they're all things to do and get you thinking about things for your marriage. Here's this week's vlog. How do you connect after a major marriage problem? After you've walked through a major marriage problem, it's normal to feel really disconnected. You may wonder if things will ever be the same. It can feel weird to be around each other. Date nights can feel awkward, and thinking about getting intimate again can almost feel overwhelming. Here's some tips for reconnecting after a major marriage problem. Confession and forgiveness. First things first. You want to make sure you're working on healing after that major marriage issue. Have you confessed? Have you forgiven? Or are you walking toward forgiveness? Confession and forgiveness will be the first step toward reconnecting. Don't just sweep it under the rug. Get it all out on the table and confess, apologize, and forgive. Acknowledging the hurt, a big step toward real forgiveness, will be validating each other's pain. Say statements like, I know I hurt you by what I did, or I am sorry that I did whatever that was. Ask each other what you need from each other. Start thinking about what you need from your spouse in order to feel safe reconnecting. What would make you feel safe reconnecting? What do you need from them in order to have the desire to connect with them again? Think on these things, communicate these things, and ask each other these things. Knowing what you need from each other will help you reconnect. Expect things to feel kind of weird and communicate that. It's normal to feel disconnected. Communicate it. Let each other know you recognize it's awkward, but you're going to push past it because you love each other and you know you can reconnect again. Fight for it. Fight for reconnection. Go on date nights, even though it will feel weird at first. Take a vacation together. Pick up a new hobby together. Make a commitment to have sex regularly. Fight to connect. Over time, it will happen, and you will be so glad that you did. Today we live in a society that considers itself sexually liberated and very open about all things concerning sex. The paradox for me is that I see very few couples that actually talk together about their sex life. I actually think a culture that gives us articles on 12 new ways to please your man and 14 new ways to drive your woman wild is taking us farther and farther away from great sex. Because if one of these top 10 ways really worked, there wouldn't be a need for the next magazine issue or blog post that gives us a whole new set of 10 or 12 or whatever number of whatever ways to do whatever, would it? If I were to pick out 20 couples and invite them to recommend a good book or an article on sex, what do you think they would say? Something from a men's or a woman's magazine? Another best-selling book? You know what I think very few people would say? The Bible. In fact, if I got 20 couples together and announced that our text would be from the Bible, I'm pretty sure that I would hear a collective groan. And the most common question would be, why? Why the Bible? Somewhere in that whole creation thing, God created sex. Now think through this with me. Who designed our bodies in a way that can give incredible pleasure? Who made us so that in sex, a man and a woman fit perfectly together? God. He made man and woman and had this great idea about sex. It wasn't supposed to be something dirty, but beautiful. I think God was very excited to give us that gift and to see us receive it. In the Bible, there's a book called the Song of Solomon. Twice in that book, the man and the woman, the husband and wife, make love. One time he starts at her head and he moves down her body. Another he starts at her feet and he moves up. It's this really sexy picture of a husband and his wife enjoying each other. And get this, the Bible says they enjoyed each other all night long. That was God's plan. A way for the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual to all come together in one act. It was His gift to us. Yet somehow we've messed it up. I want you to experience sex exactly the way God intended it to be enjoyed. It's going to take some more work. For some, healing from the past needs to take place. For others, it will be fleshing out all the distorted sexual crud that our culture feeds us. And for others, we'll be going back to square one and starting over. I say it all the time, but I believe it with all that I am. The best sex ever can only happen in the context of a Christian marriage. Don't ever settle for less. I guess this is one, I love all the reading plans that we have. This one is probably my favorite, and just for so many reasons, because it was such a joy to write that book. Okay, let's look at another question or two. How about one more question? Why is it important to communicate your expectations to your spouse? What are some ways to start doing this without them feeling like you are nagging? That's a really good question. I think we have to get our expectations, and I think the way to do that, sometimes I've had couples just kind of write down their expectations so they kind of think it through ahead of time and then sit down and share those with each other. Maybe one shares one, then the other shares one. Sometimes we do this in counseling, and sometimes that's a good way to do that in a Christian counseling setting. But you can say, this is my expectation, and then your spouse can say, is it realistic? You can tell you, is it realistic? Is it something they can do? Is it something they can't do? You get it on the table. I think what happens so much, we don't communicate our expectations, and then we get upset at our spouse because they don't follow through or do what we want them to do. So it's got to start with good communication, sitting down, setting aside a time to do that, saying, hey, can we talk about expectations in marriage? I want to make sure I'm on the right track. I want to make sure I'm not expecting things from you that are unrealistic or that you can't do, don't want to do. And so kind of put it out like that. And I think that'll get you on the right track with your spouse. So that's great. Let's do, 7 secrets. I'd like to show you guys, I think we've done this before, but want to show you the promo video that goes with the book. I think it's one of my favorites, something you guys hopefully will enjoy. Today we live in a society that considers itself...
An awesome marriage is a journey. It's a life spent together and a true gift from God. It's the substance of struggle and victory, sorrow and joy, tears and laughter. It's embracing companionship and time together. It's seeing every challenge as an opportunity for God to move your relationship forward. Every couple deals with staying connected, resolving conflict, and balancing relationships. But too many give up when instead they should fight for their marriage. No matter where your marriage is now, there are secrets to help close the gap between where it is and where God wants it to be.
Okay, if you have not read the book, I would love for you to do that. It's available everywhere. You can order it online. You can find it in bookstores, all that kind of stuff, or they can order it for you if your bookstore happens to be out of it. I think it's a great book that God used in so many people's lives, and we're excited about that. So what are we going to do next week here? Well, next week we are going to continue this. It'll be the last of the 7 secrets we'll talk about next week. It's called Fight. It's basically fighting for your marriage. I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of one of the concepts that I really love because that's what I think we need to do. I think we need to learn to fight for our marriages together. So we're going to talk about how to do that next week. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. It's been fun having you guys with us today, and we'll see you next week.